Hey everyone, it's Skizix here, your casual exile. I wanted to go over some early beginner tips that'll still help us casual players just get through the first act, maybe into the second, and make use of some of these tips. Now the first one's fairly straightforward. It's the medicine chest quest. What this quest does is you kill Hailrake and he gives you a medicine chest and you turn it into Nessa, and then she offers you three types of flasks: a life flask, a mana flask, and a quicksilver flask. Now, I highly recommend everyone to take the quicksilver flask early on, as this is going to help us move through the first act into the second act and maybe even into the third if you maybe didn't get lucky and get a drop. So completing that quest is very helpful, and I highly recommend people to do it because of Quicksilver Flask increases our movement speed, and then we gain our charges by killing enemies. Next up, we're going to talk about vendoring some items, and the items that we're going to be vendoring are blacksmith whetstones, armor scraps, alteration orbs, and transmutation orbs. And what this is going to do is give us some extra wisdom scrolls and potential portal scrolls for selling wisdom scrolls. So I recommend doing armor scrap before blacksmith whetstone, as they're more common from what I've seen, and you get 2 wisdom scrolls, as you saw there, for armor scraps. You get 4 from blacksmith whetstones, and you get 4 from alterations and transmutations. As you can see, these 3 items here give us 12 wisdom scrolls. Now you can take those 12 wisdom scrolls, and maybe you haven't found some portal scrolls early on and you need some. You can take those wisdom scrolls and buy a stack. Well, it's 3 wisdom scrolls for 1 portal scroll. And as you see, they were just pulling those out of my stash tab when I bought the 40 there. Next, we're going to go over a recipe that is pretty helpful early on, and it gives us +1 to socketed level gems, depending on the property of the ring that you sell to the vendor. So as you see here, I pulled out a scepter and 3 rings and a wand. This works for either one of them. And we also need a alteration orb. So you sell these items to the vendor. So we'll start with a scepter, and if you want, let's say cold socketed items to be to +1, you sell a cold ring and an alteration orb, and you get a +1 to level of socketed cold gems. Now the weapon, whether it be the wand or the scepter, have to be a magic item, but the ring can be any rarity, so normal, magic, or rare, and you sell an alteration orb and you get this. So let's say we wanted the wand to be, and you'd get wands. Let's say you wanted fire, you take a ruby gem and then you would get fire. So on and so forth, same with lightning. So that's just something early on that can help boost your damage by gaining +1 to the gems. It's really helpful for players that are doing arc. I know a lot of people are doing arc right now. And so that's pretty helpful. Next up, we're going to talk about talking to Tarklay or a vendor, the armor vendor, and the axe moving forward. Early on, this can be very helpful, as you can find potential use of boots. Look for boots with +10 to movement speed. Sometimes the vendors could sell those early on, and that's a big boost to moving through the first couple of acts. Also look for 3 socketed, 3 linked items, such as wands or weapons and things that you could make use for, as this can help early on.
Farewell.
Next vendor item we're going to talk about is the flask selling vendor, or selling the flasks to increase the flask size. So 3 small mana flasks. Selling to the vendor will give us a medium mana flask. Now this works for life and mana flasks. So if you get 3 mana flasks that are medium, you can upgrade those to a large, so on and so forth. And that can be helpful, especially for maybe solo self-found players, but also even some casual players like ourselves.
Farewell.
Next, we're going to talk about the Book of Skills. Now, there's 21 books total, with a total of 22 passive points throughout the game. And sometimes we miss which passives we didn't get as far as throughout the quests. And there's two ways you can look at this. The first one I prefer because it's the easiest method, and it's you go into your chat and do /passives, and this pulls up all of the quests that give us Book of Skills or passive points to our tree. And as you see here, I have 2 quests, 3 quests, 4 quests total that I could do to gain passive points. And when you have the number next to it, it shows that you can have completed it. So I could actually go and get four more passive points for this character. And maybe you can do this after each act to see if maybe there was something that you missed. Or another good way is just to check your waypoint, because you use it so often in the beginning and throughout the game, just to look to see which quests you haven't completed. And I think that's it. So the reason for this video was... Whoops. Had an alarm set I forgot about. So the reason for this video is to help those new players that are coming over to play Path of Exile. I know there's a lot of them, and some of these tips could be very useful for them, for you, and I hope some of you can make use of this. I have some build descriptions and some build in my current build that I'm using in 3.5 Betrayal in the description below, and I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this. I hope you've made some use of some of these beginner tips, and I will see you guys in the next video.